and welcome to 4 blind spots that enslave lightworkers from living their soul purpose. And how do we know that? We've done it. We discovered the blind spots. So I just want to, before we get started here,
wait.
I hear some echo.
What's that?
I just want to, before we get started here, excuse us, folks. We've got a little bit of echo going. I think it's on your...
I think I fixed it.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Well, look at all these people.
Welcome. I know. This is my favorite part of it's like you open the door and everybody starts to come in. It's so cool. So cool.
From Florida, from Alaska, people. From New Zealand. Wow.
Welcome. So I guess we'll start over again. Welcome to 4 blind spots that enslave lightworkers from living their soul purpose. We are so excited to have you here tonight. This is one of mine and Marilyns' favorite topics because it is what we do, is we help people find their soul purpose. And so we're so happy to have you here with us tonight or this morning or wherever you're listening to this. Even if you're listening to this recorded, we're so happy to be able to share this information with you. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few little housekeeping tidbits, and that is we will be doing a Q&A, a live Q&A at the very, very end. We have so much information to go through tonight. I don't know how we're going to get through it in 90 minutes, so we are going to fly through it. For those of you who have not joined us on Zoom before, this is a live stream application. It requires a lot of bandwidth. So you can close everything else on your desktop, even your browser, because Zoom operates in its own window. And that will help keep the bandwidth really strong. If you experience any freezing of the video or any sound quality issues, the best thing to do is just to go out and come back in. That usually solves it. And we do have Jenny on the back end. If you have any issues, you can email info@Adironda. She's monitoring that and she can help you. Or you can type it in the chat window. Back to the Q&As for just a quick second. Q&As, type your questions in the Q&A box, not in the chat box. We are going to be doing some really, really fun, interactive stuff tonight in the chat box. And we're going to leave that box open for just chatting when we ask you to, and chatting with one another right now. Like, I love it that you're coming in and you're telling us where you're watching this broadcast from. That's so exciting. So let me think, did I forget anything? No, I don't think so. I'm going to bring Marilyn forward. She's going to lead this conversation. It's going to be interactive, and Adironda is going to join us a little bit, but we are so excited to share these 4 blind spots. Are you there, Marilyn?
I am here. We thought that it would be appropriate for us to be on the beach today. And I'm so excited because 4 blind spots that enslave lightworkers from living their soul's purpose. I mean, how many of us can associate with that? I know. We are not enslaved anymore. Yet, do you hear an echo?
No, I don't. Does anybody else hear an echo? If you hear an echo, let us know in the chat box.
It only is an echo from when I speak. But if nobody else hears it, that's cool. You know, we all feel threatened a little bit when we think of our soul's purpose. And sometimes it's kind of challenging because you think, you know, God, what am I doing? Starting something new at my age. You know, I hear that a lot. Or I don't know the technology of today. I don't even know how to use Facebook yet, or websites, and how do you afford a website? You know, when we think of doing our work, when we think of being a light plurker, as Adironda says, plurk, play plus work equals plurk, you know, we've all taken umpteen classes, umpteen energies, umpteen programs, umpteen workshops. We've all taken all of that. And somehow, some of us anyway, some people are still kind of doing the same thing over and over, or they seem to be missing the boat. Well, Joy and I sat down. We are your hosts, Joy Roby, Marilyn Harper. We sat down and we really brainstormed what are 4 basic things that people do, that we did, that seem to shift or stop them from moving forward. Now, you may think, why in the world do we have the authority to be teaching you or sharing something with you that will benefit you? Well, because we've lived it. We have done this. This is our 8th year in business as Adironda and Company. I've been channeling now for 18 years. It's like, how can I be so old? So I don't ever want to hear anybody say I'm too old to start something new. But, you ask, what is it that we have done that got us where we are? A part of our mission is to share, to teach, to inspire all that we encounter, to take that energy, to sometimes I want to just, do a mind meld and meld my brain with your brain so I can just shift everything in. Joy and I have been through these 4 steps, and we're going to tell you about these 4 steps in just a minute. But first, I think it's a good idea for those of you that are new to us, for you to understand a little bit about where we've been and how we feel qualified to have this conversation. Because at the end of this conversation, we are going to share something with you that has changed hundreds, maybe thousands of lives. We are going to share tried and true and tested techniques, and we're going to share something that has inspired hundreds of people, help them take action, and help them live their dream. That's what we're going to do at the end. We're also going to have a channeling with Adironda. But before we do that, I would like, Joy, for you to just tell us a little bit about you and why you feel qualified to address the 4 blind spots that have kept Lightworkers shackled in their chains and not moving forward with their soul's purpose.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've created and sold 3 different businesses. I've been scooped up by corporate America to come in and start businesses inside of the corporation, because a lot of times in a corporation, they get used to a certain routine and they can't think outside of the box. And I am a completely outside of the box thinker. And I have an executive MBA because I had an art degree. But I found out later that I really enjoyed business. So I went back to school and got my MBA. I've made lots and lots of money in the past. I've been hired to, like I said, I've created and sold businesses. But what happened for me was that I reached a point where, under most people's belief, I would consider what I had done very, very successful. But I found that I was miserable. I was not happy at all. And so I started looking at what I was doing that I didn't like. And it wasn't the actual work that I was doing. I loved the work. I hated the routine. I hated cubicles. I hated offices. I hated commutes, long commutes. I hated 9-to-5 type job situations. And when I started looking at what I didn't like about my life, I just pivoted. I went the other direction, and I started asking, what is it that I can do with this skill set that I have, that I love, in a way that it can really support humanity. Only at the time, I didn't realize that was what I was asking. It wasn't until I started working with Marilyn that I discovered what it was. And it was that I loved creating business. I loved creating value. I loved starting from nothing and getting things up from scratch. But I just didn't like, I didn't like doing it for businesses, is what it was. I wasn't 100% behind the mission of the companies that I was working with. And what I learned was, in working with Marilyn, we had a group. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you lean in to the things that feel good, and you start walking away from the things that don't feel good. It takes some courage to do it, because sometimes it means changing jobs and changing where you live and changing friends, which we'll get into. But what I learned was, in leaning in, I started to get more and more of the things that I liked. So I was able to take the skill set that I had in the job that I like, but apply it to something that meant more to me personally.
That is fascinating. You know, I learned something about you, Joy, every single time I listen to you. One of the things that qualifies me for this conversation is I have been in business of one kind or another most of my life. Believe it or not, when I was 6 or 7 years old, I used to organize circuses in my backyard, and I got to be the leader of the parade because I'm the one that had the baton. We had advertising, we invited all the neighbors, and the fee was a nickel, or if they wanted to sit on the front row, it was 7 cents. So I think that my business career started there. My channeling career was a little more rocky. I started that in 1999. Due to a whole series of all kinds of things. And, read the book whenever it comes out. I have worked as a salesperson for multiple businesses, a radio station, a theatrical supply company. I walked in 1993, shifted my whole path. And so when I started channeling in 1999, I really thought that I needed to pick what I wanted to be when I grow up. I wanted to be either a channel, or I wanted to be a healer or a teacher or a speaker. And it wasn't until 2009 that Adironda, the spokesbeing for the council that I channel, they're a council of 12 or more, they said, when I took the question, what do I want to be when I grow up? I was still asking that question. I know I'd been channeling for 10 years, but they said that I would be utilizing all of my skills for a business of spirit. And I thought, what skills do I have? I had to get rid of a lot of things and move through my blind spots, because I'd taken classes and read stuff and worked in that, but I still had these blind spots that were stopping me. So while we're continuing to talk a little bit about these blind spots, I'd like it if you all would type in to the chat window, and then Joy will look those over and read them. The answers to a few questions to see where your blind spots are. One of the questions is, are you living the life that you love?
And Marilyn, while we're waiting for them to type in, oh, look at the nose right off the bat, sort of. Okay, we got the perfect audience. But, just to clarify, for you, it was, you had all of these skills that didn't seem to relate, and it was trying to figure out what to do with all those skills. And for me, it was taking what I was doing that I loved and redefining a way that I could do it that I was more passionate about the outcome.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. So look at this. This is great. Okay. No. Loving the life, mostly good. I am. No. Also, but need more. No. Perfect. This is great.
So I have another question. If you could change or shift one thing in your life, what would it be? So if you could change or shift one thing in your life, what would it be? Write that into the chat window.
What would it be for you, Marilyn? Pamper for myself more, wealth, income, health. Okay, good. What would it be for you, Marilyn?
I would own my own home. I've been renting a home because I was back and forth with my mom for several years, and I'm ready to buy my own home. I just have to decide if it's going to be in Springfield, Missouri, or Crestone, Colorado, or both, maybe. I don't know. What is one thing that if you could change one thing about your life, what would it be?
We talked about this earlier, and I said nothing. I really love my life, but there is one thing. I wish that I had more time with my kids. My kids don't live near me, and I wish that I could spend more time with them.
Oh, well, that's great. I want to move away from my kids. No, I mean, my kids live in my house. They've been taking care of my house that I'm renting while I take care of my mom. So that's really good. What are some of the things that people want to shift in their lives?
Wealth,
See those?
security, less self-judgment, better connection with twin flame, sell my current business for the amount I deserve, health, I want to travel less or work, stop sacrificing life for college. It's really good. Even if we don't read your comment, you're moving energy around it, just putting it in the chat window. So it's really important. If you can do that, if you can participate with us, it's even more exciting. So
yeah.
the last question. Oh, go ahead.
What parts of your life do you love the most?
This is something that I knew I was on purpose when this happened, because when I was working corporate and consulting, I really didn't want to work with the people that I worked with. It's like I was hoping that I could just kind of work by myself, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But now the part that I love the most is when we're traveling and we meet the people that we do at live events, and we work with people. And, there's no greater feeling in the world than to have them say that in some way we shifted their life. I just feel, I feel like if I died tomorrow, I've lived, because we've traveled the world and met people who've told us that.
Yeah, it's so amazing when you look into people's hearts and their eyes and see the light bulb go on, to see the shift in them right there before our eyes. I love that part. So that tells you a little bit about Joy and I, and why we decided to facilitate this webinar, because we want everybody to feel the way we feel. Maybe not quite as stressed sometimes, but because sometimes it does get a little intense. But is it all right if we? What?
Stress is just dessert spelled backwards, remember?
Oh, of course. So is it all right if we share the 4 points of what we've learned and how to clarify those and how to get over them, and share with you some techniques and tools of what we truly know, and help you get on your way? At the end, just to let you know, before Adironda channels, at the very end, we're going to have Adironda's going to channel, and we're going to have a Q&A after that. But I'm going to tell you about something that has shifted hundreds and thousands of people, assisted them in stepping into their power, stepping into their presence and their own innate abilities, and truly stepping into their selves. But before we do that, I want to share with you the 4 blind spots that Joy and I have uncovered. Joy being a business coach, me being an intuitive coach. We have 4 aspects that we've come up with that we can tell you about in 90 minutes or less. So one is using the 3 most dangerous words in any language. Using the 3 most dangerous words in any language. It's been our experience that those things that we believe we know, hands down, because we've got, a slide. How cool is that? I need to shift this just a little bit. So another is another is to look at what is happening. I'm just trying to get this so it's, there we go. Exit full screen. That's what I needed. Sorry, little brain flatulence there. Another one is to not knowing your soul's purpose, not understanding your soul's purpose, not knowing your soul's purpose, not connecting with your soul's purpose. Believe it or not, most people, that's the the most asked question of Adironda. They may have an idea of their soul's purpose, and they have an idea of what they want to do about it, but they back off from it. So we're going to show you 3 very specific techniques that we've learned in finding out exactly who you are. Number 3 is we are going to show you how to create a true support system. So one of the problems is not creating a support system, not having a support system. Believe it or not, we all need cheerleaders. We need to understand our critics and know that our critics are not necessarily our cheerleaders. We do a good enough job criticizing ourselves really well. We also will help you provide the language for releasing those people in your life that are not in agreement or in support of your vision, and then how to magnetize those people that are. And the 4th thing we're going to cover is, okay, you know what you're doing, you know your soul's purpose, those 3 magic words that you're not supposed to say, but what do you do then? How do you take action? How do you stop making excuses and take action once and for all? You understand your purpose and how to support your team or your place in your team. How do you move forward? How do you have the formula for success and activate that formula for success in your life? That is exactly what we wish to share with you tonight. So if that's okay, if it's not, then click here and hang up. We'll start with the first one, which we call number 4. The 3 most dangerous words in any language. These words stop new information from coming in. These words stop you from learning. These 3 little words should never help you in any way, shape, or form. Yet people tell us this all the time. People say these words all the time. I took this class, I did this workshop, blah, blah, blah. You still find yourself repeating some of the same habits. These words tell your brain and your energy, and I'm sure there's scientific documentation to back this up, and somebody's going to figure that out. But right now, I'm not going to go into it. That's for another workshop. But these words tell your brain that you don't have to pay attention. These words tell your brain, oh, yeah, I've heard this before. I don't have to have this information. I can let it go by me and not pay attention, or I can get out of here and do something else. So what do you think those 3 words are? If you know, type them into the chat window and we'll ding, 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 give you the winner's prize. So is anybody typing anything in? Does anybody know?
Oh, yeah. They're saying, I already know this. I know I can't try. I don't know. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I know that. I can't. You can't do it. Should, would, could. There's a good one. I cannot. Yeah, I know, but I can't do it. Well,
so the winner, the person who said, I know that, that's the winner. I know that. Using those words, that's what Adironda has said, that the 3 words that stop the energy in any way, shape, or form of moving forward is, I know that. And those of you that have been in our workshops or our classes know that as soon as you start that, we, stop the energy, because that's what that does. When you hear yourself saying that, I know that creates a blind spot. It actually shuts off the energy and keeps you shackled to your old ideas. So,
you know what's interesting, Marilyn, is that often it's the people who've been on the path the longest. It's like Lee Carroll talks about, the people who give him the hardest time about channeling Cryon are spiritual people. It's not the, religious right. And we find the same thing. It's people who, come in and say, I've been doing this for 20 years. I already know that. And it's really interesting.
It is interesting. You had an experience with a book, I think, that you had mentioned about to me, the 4 agreements. What, Joy?
Yeah, I'm trying to multitask here. Trying to do the Zoom, trying to do
how many arms do we have?
Yeah. Well, what happened to me was, because it's one of those things where you know these things, right? And then I like to say that intellectually you hear them again and again and again, and then all of a sudden one day it just goes, and you get it, right? And it just starts to become who you are. And for me, it was, I had heard Adirondack say it many, many times, I know that stops the energy. And I'd watched it at many of our retreats, but I realized that I had been sharing with people this book called The 4 Agreements, which I'm sure many of you know. It was a life-changing book for me when I read it years ago. And the thing that I found about it was that every time I was sharing it with someone, I'd say, well, the 4 agreements. I'd say, agreement number 1 is take 100% responsibility of your life. Agreement number 2 is be impeccable to your word. Agreement number 3 is don't take anything personally. And I'd be like, and agreement number 4 is, I couldn't remember it because that was the agreement that I needed right then. And that was one of those moments that it went, whew, that when you think something, like I thought I knew the 4 agreements, but obviously I couldn't remember the one that I really needed to know. And the other thing was when I read Jack Canfield's book, Success Principles, which is a great book if you are on a path of trying to figure out what you want as well. He talks about taking 100% responsibility for your life, for every single thing that happens to you in your life. And so when you say, I know that, you need to take responsibility for the fact that you are shutting off the energy. That's how I learned it, Marilyn.
And it's so interesting, isn't it? Because as you said, people that have been on the path the longest, many times, not that I know everybody's saying, well, I've been on my path a long time. Am I doing this? We're not pointing any fingers at you. But what we've found is sometimes people will say, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been through all the forgiveness stuff. I've forgiven and forgiven. I've done all the soul work. I've done all that. And my husband is still a schmuck. So that statement right there says that that, but you're not putting it into use. So, and that's the key is when you hear something and you hear yourself starting to say, oh yeah, I know that. Instead of resisting that energy, instead of resisting that information of pushing back or saying, or checking out or going to the bathroom, or if you're in a conference, going and getting a drink of water right now, instead ask yourself why you're feeling this way. Number 1, when you hear yourself or you feel yourself starting to say, oh, I know that, instead say, when was the last time you heard yourself saying that? And think about what that was in comparison to where you are right now. And then go on to explore it further. So when was the last time you heard yourself saying, I know that, shutting down the energy, what was going on at that time? Are you saying it now? What's going on at that time? Are you in resistance to moving your life forward? Take a deep breath on that one. Are you somehow the feeling of, I know that, whatever is happening at that point in time, that may be a reflection to what you really need to learn, like with Joy, not the Course in Miracles, the 4 Agreements. Both are really great.
I need to learn that one too.
Yeah, me too. is it reflecting that I know that too mentality? So ask yourself those questions. This is a part of the solution. When you feel yourself going, I know that, how does it pertain to your life right now? How does it grok in your world? If this is repeated and you feel, you go to this workshop and you do that and you hear that, you hear somebody else say, oh, well, let me tell you about this book. And it's like, oh, yeah, I already know that. I already read that. So there's a reason why this is being brought up to you again. And so you get to ask yourself, what is the reason that it's being brought up to you again? If you're really being honest with yourself, do you think you know this, or is it something that you feel you really understand? So that's where the ego kind of comes in and pushes away what they are not interested in, because the ego is not really interested in your enlightenment. The ego is not really connected to your enlightenment. So in that experience, that's the difference between thinking and feeling. We may think we know this, but we are not feeling it at all. So that's kind of a part of that information. When you say, I know that, and pay attention to what my hands are doing right now, because we've watched this happen in groups, in people, in conversations. Oh, I know that. I know that. That means that you're not open to any new ideas. And the world is based upon new ideas. You're not open to the possibilities that you may still have something to learn about what's going on in your world. In my opinion, I'll pay, a lot of money to go to a conference and think, okay, so this didn't resonate really well, but if I glean one nugget from any workshop, it's a huge bonus. One thing makes a huge difference. So, but when you say, oh, I know that, what'd you say, Joy?
It's worth it. It's like we every year we decided as a business, we go to one marketing conference and one spiritual conference just to experience, to learn and to experience. And I won't mention any names, but remember, Marilyn, we went to that one. We were so excited. When we got there, it was such a huge disappointment. But I have to tell you, we learned how to title our webinars from that one conference, even though we didn't agree with anything else she said. And in fact, Adironda created a huge distraction for us at the very end of the workshop so we wouldn't sign up for any more. And it's hilarious. But the process that we use to title our webinars, which is very, very effective, we learned at that one conference. Remember?
Yeah, I do remember. I also learned that you'll never have a center aisle, which I always have a center aisle, so I didn't agree with that part. But
yeah.
The thing is when you learn to not say, I know that, then what happens is it opens the world to infinite possibilities of thinking. So when you hear that come out of your mouth, oh, I know that, start asking yourself those questions, just to kind of reiterate, ask yourself, are you in resistance? Ask yourself how this is reflecting something else in your life. Ask yourself, is this being repeated because it's something I need to know? Ask yourself if you are thinking about it too much or feeling about it too much. What does it all mean to you? So that's the first blind spot.
Well, before you go on, Marilyn, Diane had said in the chat, better to say, I understand. That's a good solution. When you're feeling that, I know this, instead say, I understand.
Yes, I understand is really good. But then the question is, do you? I don't know. So either that's a possibility. Thanks, Diane. Thank you for sharing. Any other comments that we need to read?
Just people asking about the books. The books, for those of you who are on YouTube who can't see the chat, the books are, that I mentioned earlier, Success Principles by Jack Canfield. It's an awesome book that you can read like one principle every night, which is what Marilyn and I did. It was really, really helpful. We've incorporated a lot of his material. And also the Four Agreements. Four Agreements is something everyone on the spiritual path should read. It's a really awesome book. And in the chat, they're talking about A Course in Miracles, which is another completely different, but down a different path, but really beautiful book.
Yes. So, and if you're watching on YouTube, join us live next time somewhere else, maybe. The number two, that's what we're up to. Number 2 is not knowing or understanding your soul's purpose. You know, as I said earlier, we hear this all the time. It's one of the top 3 questions that anyone asks at around in the Council of Light. What is my soul's purpose and how do I live it? You know, what am I supposed to be when I grow up? I think the reason I help people do that is because I asked myself that question every day of my life from the time I graduated college and a long, long time ago and became a teacher. I was still saying, what do I want to be when I grow up? I was teaching high school, but what do I want to be when I grow up? I was selling tax sheltered annuities, but what do I want to be when I grow up? You know, I was still asking that question until 2009. And so why don't all of you type into the chat window if you know your soul's purpose, or if you don't know your soul's purpose. If you know your soul's purpose, type that into the chat window so everybody can see it and we can shoot you the juice on it. If you don't know your soul's purpose, that's okay.
Type, I want to know my soul purpose.
Right. Type in, I want to know my soul's purpose. You know, is there any that we need to share?
An intuitive healer. I want to know my soul purpose. I want to know. I don't know. Not a clue. Oh, somebody's not listening. I want to know my soul purpose. I love the ability to create. And now I have time. Ascension, to be the... They're typing them in so fast I can't read them. I want to know most people want to know their soul purpose. Teacher, but lacking joy. Oh, I feel my soul's purpose is to remember who I am. I want to know and poop. I'm 66. Okay, good to know.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Healer, teach and heal. This is awesome. Yeah, see, this is all, every time you do that, you're moving energy around it. And that's something that I teach in energetic marketing about just moving energy, move energy. I'm so eager to know my soul purpose. All right.
Excellent. You know, when I started down this path, I thought my soul purpose was anything other than what I'm doing right now. I mean, in 1999, my brain, my ego thought I had to do something life-changing. And channeling, I didn't think was life-changing. I thought channeling was something that I would be judged for. I thought that I had to do something that was separate from who I actually am. When I started down this path, I was a salesperson, but I felt like I needed some kind of a label. I wanted to be a speaker because that was really fun. But I wasn't comfortable on stage after I walked in until just recently. I felt like that I should know all the answers. If I was going to be a speaker or a channel, I should know all the answers. And now I know that I don't have to know all the answers, that I just have to know the right questions to ask so you can find your own answers. I understood that when I found out my divine essence, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that led directly into my soul's purpose. And we're going to show you an exercise in just a few minutes about how you find your divine essence, how you find your truth of who you are, and then how that's connected to your soul's purpose. So what about you, Joy? How was your pathway to discovering your soul purpose? How did you do that?
Well, you know, in the past, I've been one of those ready, fire, aim people. and I had spent my life pretty much in ready, fire, aim, so like I was out doing what I thought I should be doing. And, on all levels, I appeared successful, but I was really pretty miserable. As I said earlier, what happened for me is, I went on and I was doing consulting. I met Marilyn, and through Marilyn, of course, I'd had a walk-in experience. And so I was really kind of lost and found. And I'll never forget it, Marilyn. I was helping you. We were at a group channel in Tucson, Arizona. I'd been working with you for a few months, and I was, like I said earlier, I was following this path because working with Marilyn was not a 9 to 5 routine. We were doing lots of different things, and it was fun. And I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills for sure, but I trusted that it was all going to come together. We were in Tucson. It was a small group, one of our first groups. And I'll never forget it. A woman had gone what we called at that time knee to knee with Adironda. And maybe some of you have done it. We don't do it anymore because our groups are too big. But Adironda would back then call people up. They'd pull their seat up next to them and literally touch knees with the person and look into their eyes. And Adironda said to this woman, "We love you so much." And the woman, at first she was holding back all of her tears. And then she just started to bawl, just this huge release. And I realized as I sat there watching it at that moment that I don't think anyone had ever told her she was loved. And it touched me so deeply that it sent me on this path with Marilyn. And, I ended up cutting my overhead dramatically so that we could work together and build this business. And that's another thing, you'll know you're on purpose when you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And that's what we did. And I knew from that moment on that this is what I was meant to do.
That's a powerful moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was looking for a method, a system to find out what my soul's purpose was in 1999 and 2000. And the technique actually came from another channel. Her name is Jewel. She channels the council. And I actually asked her, because her essence is divine direction. So I thought, that's good. I'll take some of that divine direction. So I invited her to come to Springfield, Missouri for a workshop in finding your divine essence, finding your true essence. And this is the system that you can use right now. And so you might want to jot these notes down. Otherwise, you can come back to the program and go to this point in the recording. But the first thing that you want to do to find out your divine essence, which is related to your soul's purpose, is find the core or the touchstone of what you really don't like, what really makes you angry, what really frustrates you, what is it that you really do not like. And then ask yourself, what is your pet peeve? A pet peeve is something that you find just especially annoying. It may be something really small. Usually it is something that is not logical. That's called a pet peeve. So you find what you really don't like, find your pet peeve, and then ask yourself, well, why does that bother you? And then if you know what your pet peeve is, or you know what you do not like, type that into the chat window.
Yeah, that was a big thing when you went through this with me. When we discovered that we were divine inspiration and divine action. What was it for you, Marilyn? People are typing in.
What happened is for me, it was just made me so angry to see people that have great potential that and then they continue to ask, what do I need to do? That they're not taking action. They're not doing anything. They have potential, but they're not using that potential. And And then my pet peeve is, and if you've been around me for very long, with magic markers or a flare or a fiber tip, a Sharpie of any kind, my pet peeve is leaving the top off of the fiber tip, off of the Sharpie, you know, so it will dry out. And then it bothers me because it's like it loses its purpose. It becomes unusable because it loses its purpose. So then after I decided that, then I found out the next step. What did you find out was the thing you don't like, Joy, or the thing that is your pet peeve?
I don't like it when people make excuses. It really bugs me, or when they, you know, when they make excuses, it really bothers me, especially when like 2 years later, they're making the same excuse, when they're saying, you know, I really want to do this, but they have the same excuse. My pet peeve is, and this is where, as I'm reading things in the chat window, I'm going to ask you guys to dig a little bit deeper, dig into those things, those trivial things that get under your skin. You know, like Marilyn was saying, somebody who leaves the cap off the marker. For me, it's like, I don't like people who don't hang up their towels. I know that sounds really, really trivial, but I don't like it when they don't hang up their towels. I don't like it when they're lazy and they don't put away their dishes, and they just expect someone else to do it. And when I dug a little bit deeper on that, I realized it's because they're not pursuing, you know, they're not moving forward. They're just expecting somebody else to pick up the pieces for them. And that's how I discovered it.
So then,
that's good. I can't stand when someone misses a belt loop. Yeah, there you go. Those are the things that you want to look at. Yeah.
What does
People
it do?
Who are chronically late. Yeah, there you go. Let you do the work for them. Right. That's the stuff that you want to dig into, because that's where the nuggets are.
Right. And then take that pet peeve or that annoying fact and see if you can look at what's annoying you about it, and then go to the opposite. What is the opposite of taking the purpose away from a pen? Is to inspire that pen to find its purpose. So
right.
I am divine inspiration. That's my job. That's who I am. And that is directly connected to my soul's purpose, is to inspire everybody I meet to be able to live the life that they love. So you want to take that pet peeve and go into the opposite. What's your opposite, Joy?
My opposite is action, you know, get it done, you know, GSD, get stuff done. You know, I think it drives my husband nuts because he's learned to say, okay, I just want to sit down and see what your expectations are, you know, to make sure that we're on the same page, because, you know, I make lists and I just move.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing, you know, and this is really a whole workshop unto itself. That's kind of what we, excuse me?
There's a question for you, Marilyn, that might help people. It says, what's the opposite of leaving the marker lid off?
The opposite of leaving the marker lid off. The key that the leaving the marker lid off, it dries out, so therefore it doesn't work anymore. You can't use it anymore. It doesn't work. So it's lost its purpose. So the opposite of that is to inspire it to keep that cap on. Inspire those people to understand that they are an integral part of everything that is around them. So my divine essence is divine inspiration. And we actually teach a section of a workshop called Quantum Living that is about, you know, understanding your divine essence. It's about understanding your total connection. It's about, and in that understanding of your total connection, in this workshop, Quantum Living, we're going to be in Stamford, Connecticut, Boston, Salem area, San Jose, Chicago, Philadelphia, Fort Lauderdale. So we'll explore that further when we've got time to, because it really deserves a whole plurk shop on its own. But you see, once you understand and resonate with your divine essence, your purpose will follow that path. And when your purpose is following that path, everything else follows suit. Adirondack says that you need to ask yourself these questions about your soul's purpose. Now, we've given you one technique, right? Find your pet peeve, find the thing that annoys you, and look at the opposite of that. But Adirondack says, when people ask what their soul's purpose is, they say, well, what is it that you love doing while you're doing it? What is it that you would do forever and not get paid for it, maybe? What is it that you get really, really excited about? And you would do it. And when you're in the middle of doing it, you say, I love this so much. I could just do it forever. That's what Adirondack suggests. So I'd love to get all those into the chat window. You can chat them and we'll move the energy on that. But I don't know if we're going to have time to read it because we've still got a lot of information to cover. The thing is when you discover your life purpose, your soul's purpose, you get the opportunity to be clear on what's going on. That's what we cover in quantum living is seeing yourself in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. What does that look like? Do you ever visualize that? Do you ever ask what the details are? I remember in 1996, I had a vision. This was right after I woke up to walking in. I had a vision that I was on a stage. I saw the carpeting so clearly. I saw the lights so clearly. And I looked over to my left, and there were these round things that I didn't even know what they were. They looked like giant bowls of some sort. And I saw these people that I had never seen before. And I had that vision so clearly, I wrote it down in my journal. That vision, that was 1996, nearly, I don't know how many years, 16 years later in 2011, I had that come true. The big bowls were soul tones. And I recognized the carpeting on the floor. It actually drew the pattern in my journal in 1996. So when you visualize what you want your life to be like, ask yourself about the details. Also, if you're getting frustrated about that it's just not coming through, if you get a little disillusioned, ask yourself what's blocking you. I mean, really, who's the boss of you? Feel the energy of your vision. I mean, Joy had a trick about her finger. She was going to tattoo ask on her finger, that to just ask, there's a specific system it's designed to be a process, not an event. Can you want to explain that a little bit?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting statement, but it goes back to the ask. I think that we don't take meditation and our innate abilities as seriously as we should, because there's so many answers that come to you in the silence. And when you ask, I mean, sometimes meditation can be, for me, it can be a walking meditation. It could be 3 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, it could be hours. It can be a 5-day silent retreat. But what I've learned is that, in fact, Marilyns right. I was going to get the words ask tattooed on the side of my finger because I would forget. I'd be like, why isn't this happening? Or, how do I take care of this? Or blah, blah, blah. Right. And even technology, I handle a lot of the technology for our company. And when we do webinars, I remember in meditation one time, I'd say, so stressful for me to do all this technology and talk and do these things with Marilyn. And I got, call in Steve Jobs, and I do before every webinar, every time we do something, we call in Steve Jobs to help. So doing the system is about going through these questions that Marilyns asked you And really, that question of pet peeves, that's a really powerful one, because the answer may not be as obvious as you think. But I guarantee you, if you take it into meditation and ask about it, something will be uncovered that will make you go, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. And that's what doing the system, it's funny. Let me just back up a second. I went to I live in Crestone, where I have the opportunity to do a lot of different types of spiritual events. And I went to a Buddhist meditation. I've never really been one to get involved with like meditation processes. And the reason why is because to me, it just seems so simple. You just connect with God, you connect with spirit, right? But I went and I did this process and I got profound information out of it. And I realized that in doing the process, you actually undo your ego, because your ego is off doing the process while you're actually connecting. And so that's why it's really important to these questions that Marilyn's asking you. Hopefully you're writing them down. If not, we're going to send out the replay and you can write them down then. But it's really important to explore these questions because the answers are there.
Exactly. And so that brings us to another blind spot. The next blind spot is not having a true support system that you can rely upon. First of all, what the heck is a support system? Is it like AA? And why do I need one? A? What do you think, Joy?
I think the support system is one of the most important of these three blind spots, because if you hang out with the wrong people, you'll just they'll hold you back. They have their own fears that they're projecting on you, on your illusion. They're projecting those same fears. And I think the most important thing about a support system is understanding that you create your support system, whether it's positively supporting you or negatively supporting you, one way or another. I remember, can I tell that story about you, Marilyn? When we were traveling?
I don't know which story. Sure.
Marilyn and I, I feel like sometimes we're in our own little bubble when we're traveling, because we're mostly around spiritual people. And then we get to the airport and we're just like, oh my gosh, what's going on in the world? Because we don't listen to the news or anything. And so we had been traveling for quite a while. And I noticed this pattern in Maryland. Like when we were out doing our work and traveling and being around spiritual people and, doing retreats and adventures and all this stuff, it was really good to have these habits that we're talking about right now. And we were good at keeping these habits together, right? We were good at not saying, I know that, we were good at meditating. We were good at doing all these stuff. Then when she'd get back home, I noticed she became really negative. And I finally asked her one day, I said, who do you hang out with? And she told me, and I knew these people, and they were really negative people. And I said, I think those people are really impacting you. And you actually changed your friends, didn't you?
I did.
You stopped hanging out with them.
I stopped hanging out with them, and it made a huge difference. I didn't even realize that my personality, my feelings, my presence changed when I would get around people that, that were my friends before, that I wasn't even aware of it. So you need a support system so they can ever so gently point out what you get to learn. A support system is really a group of people or a network of people who provide an individual with practical and emotional support. Now, we as humans really are social creatures most of the time. We need a support system, and that can assist us in everything. It can make everything stronger, and having the wrong support system can actually weaken those parts of yourself that not good enough part. It's like the not good enough syndrome, NGE, not good enough syndrome, is, according to most spiritual and non-spiritual teachers, is the bottom line to absolutely all of our challenges. Not good enough. So somewhere along the world, somewhere along the timeline, we got the idea that we were not good enough to accomplish our dreams, to accomplish our visions. We got the idea that we were not worthy, that we were not living the life that we love because we somehow didn't deserve it. We were not living the life that we love emotionally or financially because of that strain. That myth of not good enough, NGE, is one of the things that we address in holographic healing, of which we're having a healing retreat. We do just have about 2 or 3 openings for it in Mount Ida, Arkansas, the end of June, which we're going to float on the crystal waters in Mount Ida, Arkansas. It's one of the nodes of the planet. And this is a little sidetrack here. Sorry. The whole area is on a crystal. Yeah. No, it's not on your script. The whole area is on a crystal bed. And one of the healings that we're going to do is to get rid of that not good enough whole syndrome, because we're going to float and swim on Lake Ouachita, washing away, which is built over a crystal bed. Somewhere I even have that picture. I'll have to show it up somewhere. But it's a powerful thing, that program of not enough. That's why we actually seem to create a support team at first, until you're aware. We create that support team that that reinforces our own self-criticism. They may be subliminal. They may, be telling you that they're supporting you, but they're really not your cheerleaders. We as humans, I don't care what your relationship is with your family or your friends, we as humans normally need some kind of approval, some kind of approval from our parents, from an authority figure, from our peers. There's strength in numbers. We want to be appreciated and acknowledged for doing a good job. And that somehow reminds us that we are really worthy. Yet the challenge is sometimes we're actually addicted to the negative folks or the critical people in our lives, and they are becoming our support system. And those people are not your support system, and you get the opportunity to realize that your support system will actually support you. Now, how do you develop a support system? First, look at the response from your family and friends and identify those that may be your support system. And ask yourself these questions about your support system. Do they ever try to fix you? Do they tell you what you should or should not do? Do they point out everything that you're doing wrong? Do they ever make you feel like you will never get it right, no matter what you do? And you feel that way most every time you talk with them. Do they help you feel stupid or inadequate or like you should just settle for whatever you have and forget about your dreams or your vision? Now, if you answered yes to any of those questions, then it might be time to get a new support system. It might be time to redirect your support system. No. You don't have to divorce your family. You don't have to divorce your friends. Just start locating the people that are supportive. And those people in your world that are not supportive, send them love, send them unconditional love, hold them in love, but know that it's really your choice as to whether you hang out with them again. Your family and friends, they should be your cheerleaders. They should get excited and want to help you any way they can. When you find yourself looking to hang out with positive people and you find yourself hanging out with positive people that exude love and positivity, you will actually change. And when you change, then your family and friends who used to not be on your support team, they are changing as well, because according to Adironda, when you shift, everybody around you shifts. So look at those people in your world that are like-minded, people that you can feel free to share anything that you want to with them, and that they will actually try to understand. I explained to, who was it? My Jehovah Witness brother, who I love dearly, about channeling and what I did. They didn't have any place to put it, but he tried to understand. And because of that, he grew. In addition, when I, coupled that whoever is in charge of the Jehovah Witnesses, that person channeled all this information. So, you just have to be able to present this type of information in a way that they can hear it. Adironda says sometimes it's okay to let go of some of your friends. Sometimes it's okay to hug them and leave them on their way. The minute you start looking for new people, your cheerleaders are going to be coming right on in. You do a good enough job at being your own critic that you don't need any help from anybody else to criticize you. It's easier when you have a good support system to move through and see beyond these blind spots. One thing that is good in a support system is to have an accountability partner, have a heart-to-heart conversation with a loved one or an acquaintance, maybe that you meet at the convergence. Have someone in your life or someone who is a mover and shaker. So if you don't have anybody in your life, get somebody that's a mover and shaker and ask them to organize a potluck idea brainstorming party or a mastermind group or an intenders group or something, that gives you that support. Or come to the double digit, or some of our quantum retreats, or our Visionaries in Light convergence, where you actually meet people that are your tribe, that can become your support team, your support system. So the third thing, that the third blind spot, is to get a support system. Know that you don't have a good support system and to shift that. And there's lots of questions that you can see if your support system is really your support system.
And Marilyn, one of my favorite things that Adironda says, it's on our bottles, is shift in the world shifts with you. And I think it's really important, that people understand that as you step more into your love and you shift, the world around you does shift too. But sometimes it takes, you have to be a pretty strong person to hang out with really, really negative people all the time. So what I discovered was, as I chose to be around people who were supportive and who made me happy, there's only 24 hours in a day. You can only spend so much time with people. So why not choose the ones who are really making you happy? Or, I know no one makes you happy, but are assisting in your happiness, rather than being around the people that are pulling you down.
Right. And now that brings us to our number 1 or number 4, whichever way you're counting, blind spot, that we get the opportunity to show you exactly how to correct that. And that is, okay, your soul's purpose, you're not supposed to say, I know that. You've got a good support team. What do you do next? What's the next step? There's all kinds of directions you can go. According to Adironda, there's any step in any direction is perfect. So there's no means of failure. I know having a huge step in any direction is powerful. Joy, you're really good at jumping off those steps. You're really good at getting started on a new project. What do you do?
Whoa, that's my favorite thing. I love jumping in. There's a couple of things that I do. One is I see the world at 30,000 feet. So my biggest challenge is not doing all of my ideas. And as our friend Lionel told me, I have to wait for the invitation before I tell people, oh, I see exactly how you can do this. So that was one thing. But when I'm doing a personal project, when I take on something really big that I want to tackle, I do a couple of things. One is I first of all begin with the end in mind. Like, take a piece of paper and write down your vision. Write down what the outcome is. And one of the things that I learned from Marilyn is when we do an event, you may or may not know this if you've attended one of our events, we always take about 10 minutes before to go into a quiet place together and visualize how we want people to feel when they leave our event. And I say, do the same thing for any project you're working on, figure out exactly what you want the outcome to be, and then let go of it. Don't stay attached to it, because what can come out of it can be even better than what you can imagine if you let go of it. The other thing that I do is, so from 30,000 feet, I dive in to what a friend of mine years ago called baby steps. I literally start to break it down. I'll say, okay, I sit down every January and I say, these are my goals for the year. This is what I'm going to do this quarter. I break it down that way. And I do baby steps, and I try to determine what I want done each week. I break that down to what I want done each day. I start with what I want done each year. I break it down to quarters. I feel like it's really important to write goals down. There's just something about it. Jack Canfield said the same thing. There's just something about writing down goals. And in the past couple of years, I found a journal called the Dragon Tree Journal. It's a company out of Boulder. And they have a Facebook page. If you go on Facebook and do a search, you'll find Dragon Tree. And they make this amazing journal that allows you to do exactly what I was doing already, but even better, because you can actually break down every day. So that's how I get stuff done. And the other thing is, don't criticize yourself for not getting stuff done. A lot of times here's what I'm going to get done this week, and I may only get half of it crossed off and it moves to the next week. But it starts to show me where I am putting my focus and where I'm not putting my focus. So I personally think it's really important to write down your goals and, make a game plan, how to get there.
So, as you know, Joy and I are two completely different people. We are totally and completely opposite in our approach to things, which is why it works so well. I use two different techniques. One is called, I don't know what it's called, Barbara Sher. I'm a certified success team facilitator, and Barbara Sher uses this technique. I don't know if you can see it, but you start. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Okay. You start on the one side of your page, and you put a box and you write goal, and then you brainstorm with yourself for at least 22 minutes. And you draw, it's kind of like treasure mapping, only it's about the steps. Okay. So if this is your goal, is to have a webinar, then this is your marketing, and down here you've got another goal, and down here you've got another goal, and down here you've got another goal. And you keep working this grid work out until you come to the other end of the page. And then you've got your step that you're going to do first. This is what you do tomorrow. And so that is one technique. You can do the same thing with Post-it notes. This drives Joy crazy, I have to say, because I'll write a goal, and this is from the Creative Problem Solvers Institute, where you write a goal and you brainstorm that goal on Post-it notes, and then you set your Post-it notes all on your table or on your wall, and then you start categorizing those Post-it notes into different categories. So everybody has their own system. My belief, according to Adironda, that you need to brainstorm something for at least 22 minutes. And you prioritize everything. You get a rough calendar, as Joy says, and mile markers. What Adironda says is get off of the sofa. You have one way that you can accomplish this, and that is to get off of the sofa and open the front door. And you've got your what you're knowing, and you've got your support team, and you've got your energy. But there's one way to accomplish this, that when you come in and you realize that sometimes you just need to get out of your own way. You just need to get off of the sofa. A step in any direction is a perfect step, and divine order starts when you open the front door. That's the direct quote. So I just want to share with you one way that we have indeed found that has helped hundreds and hundreds of people, in addition to the three other techniques. One is, what is my next step and how do I accomplish it, right? That's the last one. How do I accomplish my next step? And we have a tried and true way that you each can accomplish this. It's so exciting. It's a proven program. It is so much fun. People that do it over and over and over again, year after year. And we find that those that do blossom and expand their vision each year. This process actually provides you with very specific knowledge and a different way to approach your vision. This process will inspire you to take immediate action and help you find your first 3 logical steps. I know somebody that wanted to start a healing business. So what did they do is they went out and bought a bunch of pens with their logo on it. Well, they didn't even have any concept of their healing business. So you have to have steps that are in order. This process that we're going to teach you shows exactly what to do. The process will help you hone in on your purpose and help you provide liftoff to every single dream or vision that you have. This process will actually give you a support team. It will be your cheerleader. It will help you brainstorm without making you feel like you need to be fixed or to be successful, or you're broken and something's wrong with you. It will help you provide the answer to your next step. It will help you provide that consciousness to take the shackles off, to remove all of the blind spots. Is there anybody out there that knows what this process is that I'm going to share with you?
I do.
You do?
Yes, I do.
I guess you could type it into the window, but for those that don't know, let me tell you, it's the Visionaries in Light Convergence. The Visionaries in Light Convergence, Joy and I have done every year since 2011. It even walked in. It started off as the Walk-ins Welcome Conference, but it evolved because the problem is not being a walk-in, or it's what are you doing now? So why is this the answer? Aside from providing all of the above, it is the most fun thing you will ever do. According to our participants, it's the most fun conference they've ever experienced. It's a convergence of energy, which is why we call it a convergence. This year, we're going to start with a huge bonfire in the New Mexico desert to throw all of our expectations in and release anything that might possibly be still standing in your way. Then we're going to bring you into a womb-like energy with the healing soulmonic sounds of this person named Three Trees that is like a shamanic sound healer like no one that you've ever experienced before. He is considered the national treasure of Sedona, Arizona. We're going to kick off Friday morning with a team of musicians that will help you come alive in your vision. We have speakers that are powerful speakers that they're not just speaking. Each of our speakers are sharing an experience, an activation, like David Young, who is a Grammy-nominated musician, healer, channel. He actually wrote the book, Channeling George Harrison. We have professors. We have people that have launched their vision. And we have people that are speaking that are taking each step, each technique that we teach and techniques that they've discovered on their own and moving it into a worldwide move of kindness and happiness. It's like we're going to take your vision and give it liftoff Now, when I say give your vision liftoff, I mean that literally, because we're actually going to take the first 150 people that registered. We're going to guarantee the first 150 people that registered. For the next 150 people that register, we're going to try really hard. But for the first 150 people that register, we're going to guarantee liftoff at the world famous Albuquerque hot air balloon fiesta. So we'll be able to anchor that into the cells of our body to give liftoff to our vision as we see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of balloons taking flight for the first time. We're actually going to provide you with your very own divinely connected pod, your tribe, to help you further your path and help you discover what your first 3 steps are after you leave that convergence. We are going to help you stay connected with a silent disco. You know, you have to attend to know what that even is. We're going to have a community mandala and a concert where you, if that's your vision, might be one of the entertainers, if indeed that's what you like to do. We're going to give you an outlet to show the world what your vision is and what you are choosing to be in 2023. Plus, we will help give you voice and then shoot your voice the juice, shoot your vision the juice. And if that isn't enough, we're going to make available to you 6 or 7 workshops on how to live in both worlds interdimensionally and dimensionally at the same time. What the truth is about Jesus and Mary the Magdalene and more, sound alchemy and how you can use it to make it your own. How to embrace your connection with the cosmic evolution that we're living. The cosmic temple. What's the cosmic temple and how do I get one? Activating the quantum nature of your new DNA. Plus, healing with soul tones and manifesting your infinite possibilities within you. That is the transformation of the Visionaries in Light Convergence. I know you're probably saying, well, how much does it cost? How much does it cost? Well, Deepak Chopra charges $5,000 a day for this type of an experience. So it's 5 days long. So that should be $25,000. October 4th through the 8th, we'll take check, credit card, cash. No, just kidding. Tony Robbins in his Unleash the Power Within is only 2 days, and it's $2,395 for the getting up close and personal with Tony Robbins, which is the rows of the first 100 rows or the first 50 rows of seats. That's what up close and personal means. Hay House Live is $1,200, and you get to pick whichever speaker you want to see. The Visionaries in Light Convergence, which is October 4th through the 8th, is an experience like no other. It's $599. It's nearest Santa Fe, New Mexico at the Hyatt Tamaya Resort. We're going to run out of room. So if you're even thinking about it, make a reservation. All of the above is included except for the workshops. It's for the first 150 people who registered. Well, actually, it's probably more like 75 people who register now because we've already had 75 people register. So now is the time to register for the Visionaries in Light Convergence. And what we do is we blow through all of those blind spots. We blow through and activate absolutely everything positive that is within you. And that's a powerful, powerful thing. We're going to have a question and answer at the end. If you have any questions about the convergence or really any of the techniques or anything else. But I know we're running a bit late on time. So I'm going to get out of the way and bring you a message from Adironda. Is that okay? Or are we too late on time, Joy?
I think everyone is waiting to hear from Adironda.
Okay. So I deliberately clear and seal this space on all sides, all directions, above and below. Around myself and around each person that listens to this now or in the future. And I fill that space with Source and followers of Source from the light. I'm so thankful to be a direct channel for the Holy Spirit and the cosmic Christ consciousness. I know that all of the guides, teachers, and angels are holding the intention that everything that is said here tonight for the highest good and highest joy of each person present. I have to step my own beliefs aside and open the Akashic records. For this I give thanks. So it is good day to you, huh? Oh, so very good to see your energy, your light, your brightness, your focus, your connection. Oh, dearest beings of light, know and understand that you are indeed the creator of your universe. You are indeed the connector of all things for you. You are indeed that manifester. And we are asking you to see what it is that it would take to love the moments that you are living. In the total scheme of time, it is just a blip in the universe. However, this big blip is you. So it is powerful that you remove the chains and bondage of old and step into your presence. Step into your power. These two, the vessel Marilyn and the Joy, have given you all kinds of fodder today to help your process. That is who they are. They are assisting in your process as they are learning how to manage their own process. So as you understand that energy, that connection, we are going to activate within you, if that is all right, all of those aspects that is powerfully put for you. All of those aspects that you will be able to see your divine purpose, that you will be able to feel, better yet than seeing, is feel your divine purpose in your heart. You see, because you can have everything you want out here on the outside. However, once you take it to the inside, that is where the energy grows. Once you take it into your heart chakra, that is where your energy grows. Once you acknowledge that focus, that is where your energy grows. So we are going to assist in whatever vision you are choosing. We've given you those blind spots that our vessel Marilyn and the Joy have indeed been through. They have indeed acknowledged that energy of, they never say that they know that, because there's always something more to learn. They never communicate, oh, yes, yes, I know that, because there's always a situation that they can grow from. They also know and understand what their purpose is, what their soul's essence is, what they're here on this planet to do. And as soon as they realized that, as soon as they accepted it, it was like fireworks exploding, and they shot forward like no one else's business has. People say, who are these young upstarts? They are the Joy, and they are the vessel, and we are Aronda. So understand that as soon as they connected with that and took the steps on faith, everything moved forward. And they are their own support team. We know people tell us all the time, but we want a relationship like yours. Okay, you can have that. All you have to do is be willing to be transparent. All you have to do is be willing to look at the hard stuff. You see, when you are on this spiritual journey, that hard stuff is where the juicy parts are, where the meaty parts are. Although if you're a vegetarian, you would probably prefer the juicy parts. So in that energy, to do the soul work, to do the soul's practice, understand that if you hear something 3 times in a day, you get the opportunity to take advantage of that. Our vessel Marilyn has done the presence process since 2010. Sometimes the vessel and the joy have been teaching it. She heard it not 3 times in one day, but 4 times in one day, just in case she didn't get it. So she's searching out her presence process book. You see, you never stop learning. You never stop visioning what it is that you love and what will make you happy, what will experience the happiness that is within you. That is what we are here for. We are here to help you feel what it is like to be held in total and complete unconditional love. Take a deep breath. We are your greatest cheerleader. We see who you are. Now we wish to hold up a mirror so you can see who you are, dearest. You see, that energy of your essence, you are never given any dream, any vision that you cannot accomplish. You are simply not. So if your vision is to be a world-famous tap dancer, and you don't have any rhythm, what do you have to do to get rhythm? You have to take classes. You have to learn how to get rhythm. And how many times a day do you have to practice? In other words, your vision may not come to you just as a stroke of lightning that comes in and the angels start singing and the gates open up. Instead, it may take some good, strong intention. It may take a bit of hard work. It may take many things. But if you love what it is that you're doing, then you are willing for that. So understand that energy. We'd like to activate everything that we can possibly activate within you right now. Is that all right? Is that all right to deactivate the energy and activate the energy? So take a deep breath. Take another deep breath. Now slow your breathing down. Breathing in to the count of 6. Hold to the count of 6. And breathing out to the count of 6. And the next deep breath in, breathe into your heart. If it helps to touch your heart, just put your fingers on your heart. And now visualize. Use your imagination and visualize something in your world that when you think of it, when you feel it, it just brings you to a place of bliss or happiness. It brings a smile to your face. It may be a person, a situation, a pet. And in that state of bliss, when you feel yourself just surrender to the bliss point of that vision, now breathe into one thing in your life you would like to activate. One shift, one conscious decision in your world that you choose to make. Maybe it's removing one of the blind spots that you heard tonight. Maybe it's a relationship with someone else. Maybe it's anything. One thing that you would like to shift for the positive in your life. Now we just ask, in holding that energy that you are choosing to shift, what is one thing that can come to mind that you can indeed take action on? And one thing that you are willing to take action on. And listen. Take a deep breath. We're just going to hold our hands on the front and back of your heart chakra. You may feel a bit of warmth or tingling sensation, or maybe you'll just feel a presence there. We are just going to activate that vision of positivity in your world. Breathe into those infinite possibilities of yourself. As you do, feel that emotion well up in your body to know that it is possible. As you feel into yourself 1 year from now, as it's completing, maybe. And now, as you hold your hands out, one hand up, one hand down, reach out and feel the hundreds of people that are here with us tonight, taking a hold of your hands in support of your vision. When you feel the presence of the others around the planet, your hands may tingle. You may feel a little pulsing. Or just warmth. These are your cheerleaders. These are those individuals that are supporting you. One day you may meet them in person and thank them for their support. Give thanks to yourself. Give thanks to your life. Give thanks to your vision and the clarity of that vision. Give thanks to your essence. Give thanks to all things wondrous. But most of all, give thanks to yourself. We see you. We know you. We see your heart. And we love you with your heart. Remember, as soon as you trust yourself, you will indeed know how to live. Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste. We're going to give Marilyn a second to come back. And I just want to remind you that if you have any questions, if you want to ask Marilyn and I anything, we're going to stay on the line for a little bit longer. I know we've gone over our 90 minutes. I told you we had a lot to pack in this hour. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask Marilyn or I, just type it into the Q&A box here. And while I'm taking a moment for you to do that, I want to share this with you. You can never fail. You know, one of my favorite statements that Adironda makes is failure is just another F word. You know, I learn more from when I fail than my successes. I mean, you know, it's anybody that you talk to that's had any success will tell you they failed a lot, fail forward. So you never want to be afraid. I mean, that's how you learn. And I think in that context, it's a sense of humor is the best thing that you can have, you know, is to just be able to look at what happened and what you did and what you learned at it and laugh at it, because it really is just good feedback. You know, as Adironda says, failure is just an F word for good feedback. So I want to leave that with you. If you have any questions, are you back, Marilyn?
Kind of. I'm kind of looking at the chat window. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all for spending your evening here. There are a couple questions here. The first question is, can you please suggest a few double checking techniques for confirming if the next thing you do is the correct thing? How to go in and be sure it's correct. Okay, so that goes to the failure thing. You know, it's like what Adironda had said, that quote about just, you know, getting off the sofa. Just, I call it moving energy. Even if you don't know it's the right thing, do it. You know, just start doing it, because what's going to happen is you're going to get some feedback. Just don't be afraid of the feedback. When I'm coaching people to come up with their taglines, I tell them, go out and just start trying them on people and watch their face. You'll find your tagline really fast. They'll actually give you the best words that you can come up with. So that would be my answer. What about you, Marilyn?
You know, one of the things that I do is I take things in and I sit with them. And, you know, as Adironda says, a step in any direction is the right step. So if you wait till you have all the answers, you won't ever step forward. So if you need confirmation, ask for a confirmational sign. My sign is a feather. So if I see a feather, that confirms it. If I hear something 3 times in 24 hours, that confirms that information. But sometimes you use the fear of not making the right step. You use that fear to hold you back. And so be aware that that could be a little resistance on your part. So know that even if you step forward and it's wrong and you think, oh, well, okay, that didn't work very well, let me go in a different direction, that's okay too.
You know, also, sometimes what you think you want to do is not really what you want to do.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. For years and years and years, I trained as a marathon runner. And I really thought that I wanted to run the Boston Marathon. And I worked and worked and worked to try and qualify for it. In fact, I couldn't wait to turn 40 because my qualifying time actually went up. I could actually run a little bit slower and qualify. And the thing that I learned eventually was I didn't really enjoy it. I just wanted the fame and I wanted, to be able to say that that's what I had accomplished because people were impressed. I liked the feedback that I got from people. So I also ask you that, if you're not doing your purpose and you think you know what it is, ask yourself why. Because what I found is when you're on purpose and you figure out what it is that you want to do, you can't wait to wake up the next morning and do it. I mean, it's just what you want to do.
That's right. That's right. Is there another question?
Yeah, this one was asked at the top of the hour. So hopefully we answered this question. I want to know my soul purpose. Go back and listen to the replay.
Yeah. Your soul purpose is find out what makes you upset, what makes you angry, and then go into the opposite of that.
This question is, can your divine purpose be very different to the life and experience that you currently have? If you have a dream, no matter how unrealistic, can this be your divine purpose? You want to answer that one, Marilyn?
Can your divine purpose be different from the life that you're presently living?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, mine is. Mine
is too. If you would have told me 20 years ago that this is what I would be doing today, I would say you are crazy. You're just crackers. 20 years before, in the 70s and 80s and the 90s, I thought that I wanted to travel all over the world and present plays that I wrote. I walked in the process. I presented it once, a few times in Seattle, and thought, okay, I don't really like this. This is not any fun. So your purpose may be something completely different than the life you're presently living. Adironda always says your purpose in life is to find your joy and then live it. And that joy is directly connected to your divine essence. And if you're living that divine essence, then you are indeed shifting in that capacity. And we have used up all of my battery tonight. So I'm plugging in my computer. So hopefully that answered your question.
And if you have a dream, no matter how unrealistic, can this be your divine purpose? Absolutely. The example I always think about is, can you imagine the first person, hundreds of years ago, maybe even 1,000, who looked up at the moon and said, someday I want to put a rocket ship on the moon? I mean, they must have thought that was so bizarre, but at least expressing it out loud, expressing it and saying, I think this could happen, you start to perpetuate the dream. Even if you don't do it in this lifetime, you're still moving energy around it.
Yeah, exactly. And, without dreams, where would we all be?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the deal. That's the vision that creates the world. And it's a powerful one. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Any dream that you have can be accomplished if you're willing to work at it. Any dream.
Yeah, absolutely. If the person closest to you gives you an ultimatum to be normal, oh, well, I don't even need to read the rest of this. I would say define normal, but if the person closest to you gives you an ultimatum to be normal, quote unquote, what's the best way to address and or handle? I feel that once a person is awakened, there's no turning back.
That is true.
Ahead. There is no turning back. That is
true. There is no turning back. And hopefully the people that know you and love you will understand that you are awake. Now, granted, you don't have to proclaim, and try to change everything and everybody. When I first woke up, I tried to fix everybody. I tried to tell everybody everything that I knew and say, you should do this and you should do that. And then I thought, it's not my job to fix them. It's my job to just be me. And I, and you get the opportunity to understand that that's not everybody's path. And usually if the people love you and care about you, most people really want you to be happy. And whatever as long as it's not illegal or immoral, or, I know that's a perception, but um, I think that they would want you to be happy. Now, your job is not to fix them or to put your beliefs on them. Your job is to learn how to be strong within yourself and hold that energy. And, maybe you could see the good in this other person. Maybe you could see how they are just afraid. And everybody's looking for love. So how does that show up in their life, and how does it show up in your life? I hope that helps.
And when you love yourself, people fall in love with you. It's true. I jokingly, I say the best revenge is happiness. Because when you're happy, it's like Eckhart Tolle said, somebody came up to him on the park bench when he was discovering himself and he was in pure bliss. And they said, I want what you have. And he said, you already have it. It's true.
Yeah, it is true.
Next question is, how do you get people to heal? You don't. They heal themselves.
They heal themselves. I teach holographic healing, and we're going to have another module of holographic healing in July. And they are the healers. The recipient is the healer. You are just the facilitator. You can only facilitate the energy. You can only guide. You can only help. You can only hold the space. But there are indeed truly the ones that have to heal. And that's really all there is.
Yeah. Any thoughts about the coming of Christ consciousness fully by 2021 and how our life purpose intertwines with this?
Oh, there's all kinds of things about that Christ consciousness, isn't there? According to Yeshua, who is on our council, and Adironda, Yeshua, Jesus, the Christed one, said the Christ consciousness was reborn in each human being in 2000. And it's been striving to be lived and seen and experienced since then. That's what he said. So if it's going to come again in 2021, wahoo, let's see what happens. But according to our information, it's already within you. It's already within all people. They just don't all choose to recognize or acknowledge it.
Yeah. I want to get off the couch. I visualize myself in front of a crowd speaking. So asking is my big step. I would say doing is your big step.
Yeah.
I would say, take any opportunity you can get to start speaking.
Anywhere, even if it's for 2 people or 3 people, a civic group, a club, an organization. What do you have to say? How are you going to say it? What's your message? Joy has talked to me for ages, 7 years, telling me that I should teach a course in speaking, that I should teach a course in presenting. And I've been telling her for 7 years that she needs to teach energetic marketing. We need to get off the sofa, don't we? Or I don't think I even know where my sofa is. But, do one thing at a time. First, if you don't know what your message is, or you don't know what you want to share, what you want to speak about, that's one thing. You have to find that out. But one of the ways that actually Adironda had me join Toastmasters. And I know you roll your eyes at the Rogers Rules of Order in Toastmasters. However, it gives you 10 speaking opportunities where you can hone your style, your technique, your image, your energy, and then you can take those 7-minute talks and turn them into a 45-minute workshop or a 4-hour long retreat or something. And speak everywhere. Speak anywhere. Free classes at the library. Offer classes everywhere. Speak at a holistic fair or a spirit fair. Teach a class there. Just practice, get in front of people. That's the first step.
This isn't really about your soul purpose, but I've been told I have a blockage between my pineal gland and my third eye. Can I give my angels the blockage, asking them to unblock it, and they will unblock it?
Sure. Why not? I don't, if someone has told you that there's a blockage between your pineal gland and your third eye, and they don't know how to take it out, then why are they giving you this information? That would be my thought. Take a deep breath and go into your pineal gland. Ask to be shown any blockage that's standing in your way, and then remove it. It can be done, absolutely.
There's questions here, but I'm looking for the questions around the purposes. What if we feel like we have many purposes? Choosing one or two is a challenge. Any suggestions? I think that goes back to what Marilyn and I were talking about. We had multiple purposes. We had multiple things that we both enjoyed doing. And Adironda told Marilyn, do them all. Right. They all come together in, some way. You just have to look for the connecting way. And it's the same for me. I mean, I'm not doing all of the things that I have goals for publicly, but then I do them on the side as well, do them all. You don't have to choose. That's the thing.
Adironda says that every single talent and skill that you have will be utilized in this new age. There are no paradigms from where we are right now. So every single thing that you are good at, you're going to use. In the quantum living course, the Plurk shop we have, and creating synchronicities Plurk shop, we have the information that to make a list of all of your good qualities, and make a list of all the things you love doing, and then see the similarities, draw the correlations there. You don't have to choose. For years, I thought I need to choose between being a healer, a channel, a speaker, a teacher, or a hotel salesperson, or a radio salesperson. I'm using all of those skills in what I'm doing now. So you don't have to pick anymore. Use it all.
Right. Let's see. We need to wrap this up. So I'm just looking for the ones that have to do with soul purpose. Well, how can you continue to see and imagine the positive change you want when things around you seem negative? Feels like a disconnect from reality. Well, it's all illusion anyway, so that's a whole other really deep direction to go into, but it's everything you see is an illusion. So you can choose to connect into the positive or the negative. It's really a choice. I never watch the news. I find it very negative and it brings me down. And I also find that I get the information that I need when I need it. It's not like my head's in the sand.
True. I have to answer this one question at least. The question is, I was a vegetarian for 1 year and got severely ill with anemia and still recovering. Is it absolutely imperative to refrain from eating animal meat in order to ascend? Who in the world told you that? Do not believe it for a minute. Some of the most enlightened people I know who are going to ascend will sit down and have a great big old red meat burger. It is your belief system that's creating your reality. And no, Adironda doesn't recommend that people become vegetarians because of that very reason. Because to really be a vegetarian, usually you have to be very strict as to what you're eating and making sure that you're getting enough protein, enough iron. It's just about not eating meat. So no, the ascension and meat have no correlation with each other. What other questions do we have? How do I start healing? Begin at the beginning.
We answered that one.
Anything else?
No, I think we're good. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it, and we've enjoyed being able to share this information with you. And I hope you got at least one tidbit of information that that you can dive in and start living your soul purpose.
I absolutely hope you do too. And I hope to see you at the Visionaries in Light Convergence. It will rock your world. And if your world doesn't need rocket, you can soar right up there with the balloons.
Absolutely. And I love that, Randy. Compassion is a verb. That's awesome.
I love it.
Compassion is a verb. I love it.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, namaste, y'all. Namaste.
Namaste. Have a great day. Watch for the replay. Share it with your friends. Namaste, y'all.